welcome today. So we've got a quick webinar for you. Should be 45 minutes if I'm right on the dot. Bluebeam Unbound announcements. They had a conference a few months ago in the US where they released a bunch of new fancy stuff to really look forward to for next year. So we're giving you that awareness of what those new features are. And I've got a couple of things at the end, so we'll still get a bit of learning out of it. I've got some cool little tips and tricks as well at the end to show some interesting little workflows, but the main thing here is to show you those new things, and then you can be aware of them, start to track them and follow them as they get released and announced further. So without further ado, I'm happy to start off now. And just throughout the process here, throughout the webinar, the question and answer function is up and running. So feel free to drop any questions into there or the chat or wherever, and I'll answer them sort of on the spot if I want to. Just kidding. But either way, I'll just do a quick intro to us and who we are. If you're not familiar with Archons, is a major sized reseller of licensing for products. We also do services and training, all sorts of stuff. So particularly for ANZ, we are the only Sapphire partner for Bluebeam. So we provide the highest level of service possible with the most amount of technical resources available. So we do all sorts of training as part of your licensing model. We provide that service for anything to do with Bluebeam. That's part of what we're here doing today, is spreading that awareness of the new features, training some new stuff, showing how to do a couple of interesting bits and pieces. But for today, like I said, we're focusing on that new side of things. So most of the features, and I don't want to burst anyone's bubble too early, but they're going to be available early next year. But we're going to give you that awareness of what they are now, so you can, again, follow their developments, be on board when they come out and be prepared, best prepared to use them. I'll have some tips on how to prepare for these tools and how you might need to change some of your processes to suit these new features. But yeah, we'll cover those off fairly quickly. So the first one is Bluebeam Max. It is a new subscription tier above Complete now, but it has a much larger amount of features embedded. And the first one is an AI tool. So they've embedded Claude, I think is his name, is your friendly AI agent that will be built into Bluebeam. So you will be able to ask it questions, and it can actually function within your drawings and what it references. So there are some implications I just want to get ahead of, like with data sovereignty, things like that. We're still answering those, and we're still figuring out the best way. Like if you do use Claude in Bluebeam, it will send part of the drawings to the the cloud, the AI agent, wherever it's working, and it will send it off there. So your data and things are traveling around a bit, but it is a very select, very small amount that it has to grab to function. But something to definitely be aware of. So here's a quick first look at it. You can see here, this is the actual agent itself. Oh, don't get ahead of yourself. As you can see, you can type in questions like anything we're all probably familiar with AI tools already. Type it in, hit enter, and it holds them side by side. So you've got Bluebeam, it'll actually run the command straight from your AI tool. Then as it runs, you'll see the question that was asked is, can we count all plumbing fixtures? It runs that procedure, looks at your drawing, and you can see it places these count tool markups on the plumbing fixtures. It has a different color for the different type of fixture, and it actually creates that label, and you can see it very faintly in the markups. This has got toilet, sink, urinal. It's identified the symbology. It's given them a separate count, and it's even counted sinks that are different shape and size. So this sink looks different to that one, but it still picks it up. Depending on how specific your prompts are, things like that, you can change those behaviors, but that is your first look at that. It gives you in a text response at the end. Whoa, apologies, there you go. In the text there, it gives you the count in a number, and you can copy it straight out from there as well. As it's a standard AI tool, you can just ask it, hey, can you put that in a table? Can you do this or that? And it'll print it out that way for you. So you don't have to fiddle with the exporting or anything like that as well. Cool. So that's one first example of that. Another look we have is just talking to your drawings and other ways you can use this tool. So the first one here, I'll asking it to capitalize all markups. It's a different way to use this. You can just go, hey, I want everything to be capitalized. I want to spell check all my markups. I want to, whatever it may be. And you can just interpret that question. It'll run the procedure there. So it can manipulate markup system information. You can see it, boop, changes to all capitalized. So this is the same thing. You can use this to audit a lot of stuff. You might ask it, can you change all unmarked markups to have a status? Or can we produce a export of all markups that have the completed status? Your data within your PDF now becomes a lot more important because you can search and filter by these things. So a tip in terms of preparing for these AI tools, the tips I would say are start using as much data as you can in Bluebeam because it'll make your life easier. You'll have more searchable fields, things you can use. So a good example is layers, automatically embedding layers in your tool chests, layering, including your statuses in data in your markups list, anything that the AI tool can actually search by and interpret to help it do the task you're asking it to do. I'll show you that in a sec. I'll show the last demonstration here. But another AI-based tool, but very different, is stitching. One that's highly requested, so it'll come out next year, especially for my engineering friends out there, or rivals potentially. But we've got the stitch drawing function. You can sort of see it'll start to procedure or run the procedure based off that. What it's not showing, you do just have to click the match point so that those lines where it has that match line, you have to sort of tell Bluebeam where that is sometimes and if it's having an issue. But once it has those identified, it will attach the drawings to each other based on those matches. And then you get a huge PDF with all of them connected. So when you need to do your takeoffs and all that sort of stuff, welcome to way less pain because your areas and your measurements won't, overlap and you won't have that sort of confusion because it's all in one huge drawing. So yeah, definitely a highly requested one. I'm glad we can have that finally available. The things I wanted to show you, and like I was saying, when it comes to preparing to use these AI tools, the more data, the better. So I'll just show you those key examples. The first one is, your tool chests and your layers. We'll use this later as well, but as an example, you can go to a tool chest, click on the first one, hold shift, click on the last one, and it selects all of them. You can right click on these, click on layer, and then add a layer to those tools. So I can just call this electrical. And then these ones, I might call those furniture. Wow, daring today. But once you go through it, if you place your electrical markups where they belong, and you start to, hey, I might actually use my reuse tool. Toolbar's status bar should always be on, so I can click reuse at the bottom. Now I can place markups multiple times without having to click it again. I'll slide a little trick in there. But throughout this, once we have those layers, and then let's say we want to put the fire-related stuff, sorry, the bedroom stuff, not that it makes much sense here, but a bit of furniture, a couple of bits and pieces kicking around. When we want to now, you can go to your layers panel, you can turn off the electrical layer, and everything from that tool chest, even the different sort of symbols, they all disappear and reappear with that electrical layer. The other way this can be useful, when you tell Claude and you go, can you count my electrical fixtures? You can say brackets, by the way, everything that is an electrical fixture is on a electrical layer. It's not going to start counting stuff that it's not supposed to. You're pointing it directly to a layer. Everything that is on that layer is electrical, and it's not going to start counting some other random stuff and throw off your data. So that's a security you can use. Having that data in the background gives it more things to search by. So when Claude comes along and sees this, it's not going to count this as electrical. It's not going to make any mistakes. It's going to be like, well, cool, that's on a furniture layer, so that can't be correct. I'm talking way too fast, so I'm going to slow down. But anyway, I won't slow down that much. The next point on the same line of thought is statuses and spaces, things like that. So for those unfamiliar with spaces, you can go to this panel here, the spaces panel. You can draw a space with the add space button. Just click and drag anywhere or individual clicks to make a custom shape, but you can type in the name of the room. So it's Office 243 and click OK. Do the same thing up here. Office 242. So once those spaces are drawn in, when you have a markup that is, there you go. In that space, you click on it, go to your markups list, that power outlet. It says here in the space column, it's in Office 242. This one's in Office 243. So if you've set up all your spaces and your layers, I could ask Claude again another question. I could say, can you give me a count of fixtures by room or by floor? And then you can brackets, yeah, use the layers column. Everything that's electrical will be on the electrical layer. Everything with the spaces tells you which room it's in. You can just be very specific and it will have much more data to use and give you a much more accurate, secure sort of response that you can trust a lot better. So those are a couple of examples. The very last one would be statuses. So this is more for design reviews and things, but if you've got a comment, I'm going to get really creative. Text, auto size text box there because I want it to look nice. Another little cheeky tip I'll throw in there. Down here, I'll call this, remove door. Cool. So between the two, I can right click on this column or this markup correction, and I can select set status. And I want to accept that comment because yeah, remove door. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I accept that. Cool. And then this one, I'm going to reject it. So because like this one hasn't been done yet, I've rejected it. It's got that information again in there on the statuses. So this one's rejected, this one's accepted. I can go back to Claude and say, can you give me a report on, the date that all markups were accepted on, or, how often are markups accepted versus how many rejected do we have? How many, problem markups are there in the project, that sort of stuff. So it, again, it's another thing you can filter by. If it's been rejected and that might mean it doesn't get included in a total. So if you go and you reject this at power outlet, I'm like, nah, I don't rock with this one. There's a problem with having one here, so I'm gonna actually reject that. You could just delete it as well, but in terms of like someone else's markup, if you're in a studio session or something, you can use those. But yeah, reject that one. Yeah, cool. Claude, give me a count of these, but not including that. So those are just some points I wanted to share in terms of preparing to use these tools properly. A lot of those things you can add into your workflows to make it a little smoother. But yeah, that's the first one. You just saw that. Cool. The other thing for my architectural or Revit friends out there, this is a direct link between Bluebeam and Revit. So we'll show the video that you can connect between the two directly. So if you place a markup, it actually shows up on the Revit model. It shows up in 3D and everything as well. So this is the beginning of that. So you can see on the left-hand side, you got Bluebeam, the right, it's Revit. There is a panel there with your studio session information, which is your markups list, the same as you see it in Bluebeam Cloud. There's a simplified markups list with the subject of the markup and the status in that top right corner. And then, the subject is generally, architect, contractor, it might be something else, but just an indicative of the purpose. And you got the comments within there. Those are all being read from here. So it's the exact same thing. Engineer, provide waterline for refrigerator. That comment's here, and you can see it shows up in there. So it does connect directly over. As you place the markup, it's a live connection. So as soon as this one's typed in and entered, the entry pops up in Revit, and it's gone, oh, cool. Yeah, missing sync. Big drama, big issue. Can't have that, but that's all there is to it. The thing that the video doesn't show, and we can't really show yet, but will definitely be there, is I have seen it in 3D. So the same markup shows up if you're viewing the 3D model in Revit on this side. But yeah, quick teaser for that. So hopefully that will help spare some people some trouble. The other week I did a webinar and I showed, well, a few months ago, I did a webinar and I showed a really janky way to do this. So luckily we don't have to follow my dodgy version anymore. We got the real deal. And finally, on a slightly different note, the third main one to point out is Org Admin Pro. So if you're a Bluebeam administrator type person, um, this is your new access and your new tool within your already existing org admin. So your org admin is just the website where you manage your Bluebeam licensing. You can see, the last login date of your staff, and you can see I was about to say when they last logged in, like I didn't just say that. You can see a few things, but not too many. You can revoke licenses, you can move them. Whereas now Org Admin Pro is a new feature, it will be paid. Um, Comparing between the two, your standard Org Admin, you don't have any view of studio use. Whereas in particular, the main purpose of Org Admin Pro is it shows you granular permissions for, sessions, projects, and any studio related apps. You can monitor and block external participants. So if you have that visibility, you can see, yep, this user, user Pete, uh, Pesky Pete has started a studio session with all of our private company data on it, and he's invited way too many people on it. I'm going to go in and block and, revoke that access before it becomes a drama. The other thing is, yeah, like at the moment, if someone has a studio session running that's important, it's an important project, the transfer of that session, if that person leaves or goes on leave or whatever, is quite difficult. Whereas now you can just immediately one click move the session that this person created over to somebody else who can now manage it while they're away. uh, from the data perspective, to the second half, you do have just a full view of all sessions, projects, and all the documents. You can go through and see pretty much everything. And there is now reporting, so usage reports, and you've got some auditing. You can see how much time people are spending in what sessions and whatnot. External activity monitoring is also important, like we sort of hinted at. You can see who is participating in studio sessions outside of the company, all that sort of good stuff. So you can, restrict anyone who shouldn't be in there, all that. But that concludes the sneak peek of all the new stuff. Again, we'll have way more information on these and your launch dates next year for early in the year, but it's definitely not far off there. The beta launched literally today, which is a little uncomfortable because I could have, if I had an extra day with it, maybe I could have cracked it open and used it, but the beta started today. A few people have access to that. It's definitely right around the corner. So once it's good to go and early next year, you can get your hands on it. Cool. For the second half, so that is just the new stuff. The second half of the presentation, I have a few things you can do right now. So lucky these are available, but just some different ways to look at Bluebeam, some tips and tricks for things that you may not have known. So throughout this phase as well, for the next sort of 20 minutes, any questions at all, happy to take on Bluebeam. If you're like, hey, how do I do this better, blah, blah, blah. Totally cool. I can answer anything specific. I can go on to anything you like. The first topic I have just planned is a different method for overlay creation and a different way to use overlays, and using the color processing tool to create different types of diagrams, full set drawings, and easily, multiple layers you can toggle off and on, similar to how Revit phasing works. So if you're familiar like with the phases, if you've got renovations or you've got projects with multiple phases and demolition that takes place, midway, or staging, this is a way to handle those stages in one drawing in a 2D PDF, which then allows you to mark up and communicate through those stages better. So if I just undo everything I've done in here so I don't mess myself up, just delete this stuff. Cool. Go back to the first one. I'll show you the quickest way to do this. Like there was other methods to do it using the overlay tool, but honestly, the fastest way to do this, hit G is your snapshot for your snapshot shortcut, G. Click and drag over the drawing, not the title block. Control C, escape, Control Shift V. So that's paste in place. If I drag it, you can see it moves it to the side there. But Control Shift V pastes it in place. So you've got basically a copy of the drawing on top of the original drawing. All you got to do then is click on color processing and colorize, and then it'll change that to red. Click OK, and then it changes to red. So if you zoom all the way in, it just looks the same. It's just, when you scroll, it kind of loads, and you might see a bit of red, but you zoom in, it's just a black drawing, same as. So nothing's actually happened yet, but if you click edit and PDF content and then erase content, this is the sort of fun bit where you can start to, demolish the actual drawing. So you're going to edit PDF content. Let me shrink this down. You don't need to see all you. Nice and neat. Sorry. So edit PDF content, erase, and then we're going to demolish the store. And I want to demolish some of this wall so I can fit a new window in. Just click, click, click. Cool. And as you erase it, it actually turns bright red as if it's been demolished. So you get your demolition diagram. We can go through and do that everywhere. Oh, I hate this window. Boom. Gonski. I want another, little access point here. Lovely. Bang. Let's get rid of the structural columns because I want the building to fall over. Cool. You erase everything you want to do, and then you get your demolition diagram. The important part of this is using your layering to create that phasing effect. So go to your layers panel. Looks like 2 pieces of paper or a big bit of lasagna. Click on your markup. So it highlights the actual markup, the red part of the drawing. Right click and then layer. Create a new layer. And this one's going to be a demolition. So it's the red layer, demolition. Drag that across, but we can see now, so the purpose, you zoom in on one of these rooms, when you turn that layer off, it shows you basically the as-built. So you're not seeing the red of what's been demolished, but if you want to turn it back on, you can see the things you've erased and you get that history. It's kind of like holding the history. You can use that the same way. So if I go back in PDF content, start erasing stuff again. And by the way, before you start erasing and damaging PDFs, save a copy somewhere. That always helps, eh? But you can delete stuff and it just looks as it's drawn now. It's removed, but if you ever need to go back again, turn that back on. Cool, I've still got the red. That shows me what has been removed. And if you do need to, oh, cool, I've messed things up. I've erased it. I shouldn't have. I don't have a copy. You can just bring this demolition layer back, color process it back to black. Oh, who sings that? We only say goodbye with words. Back to black. Now you have sort of the existence there, but I want to just chuck it back to red to move on to the next phase. Amy Winehouse, that's where it was. Anyway, demolitions, turn off and on. So there you go. You got a bit of a demolition diagram with the phasing built in. The next thing we can do is add like new build information, have a layer for new construction. So you've got basically the existing right now with the red being what's been demolished. You can copy that and turn on a new layer for new build. And this is going to help, especially with our tool chest. So like we mentioned, I use the same tip we used a second ago and add a layer to the tool chests automatically. This just saves me a lot of work. I can right click on anything in kitchen. And for this purpose, I'm going to call it new construction. So anything from the kitchen toolbox is going to be new construction. Anything from the standard Windows library layer, that's going to be in new construction as well. Really important that you don't make a spelling mistake or use different capitalization. So within the tool chest, you right click on that layer, new construction. If this one was like not capitalized, or if any of them are slightly different, they will actually go to different layers. So make sure that the spelling and capitalize exactly the same. But now what you can do is go to your layers panel, turn off the demolition layer and start to use these tools to draw your new build and what you want it to look like when it's brand new. So these sort of sinks and things, if I turn this conference room, this is actually going to be a big kitchen now. I can start to sort of lay out my furniture and my bits and pieces. wherever I desire them. And big sync here. And then I want a little window. So you use your toolboxes, you draw your stuff in. If there's anything that isn't from a tool chest, so for example, I'm going to stretch that out and I need a clear sort of draw that counter space on. Just grab a tool for it. You can draw that in, no worries, and click on that, change the color of it, but that's not going to be on our layer yet. So if there's anything sort of specific, you can just take that, right click, add it to the layer manually, and then it'll turn off and on with your new construction drawing. So now you can see you have all your phases built into the same drawing. You've got, if you disable your new, you turn your demo on, you can see how it was when it was existing, you can see what's been removed, and then you can overlay and flick between what's been removed and what's been installed as new and what is old. So that's a unique way to use your layering tools to create sort of phases and things like that. So definitely helps with making amendments and making design options, all sorts of stuff. That's the other way to use it. If you just duplicate this layer or you create another layer for option 2, you could, toggle and turn on different options or different types of whatever you're designing. So sweet, that is the nuts and bolts of that basically. The other thing, no, yeah, that's cool. All good. And as we said, like as we were getting at before, sorry, as this leads into the AI tools, because you're using your phasing and each of your markup tools. So when you place that, that sync, that comes up as new construction. You can, when you're asking the AI tool stuff about it, it can identify between what's new and what's old. So that's good. Let's click back over here, go back to PowerPoint for a moment and click to the next topic. This one is similar, but just a way to that I think this will be enhanced by AI tools as well. I think you'll be able to take out the manual steps for this, but the process will be the same in the future. And this is definitely still very useful now. Why would you use compare docs when you have overlays? To me, overlays look much better and they're much more clear what's changed. But your compare doc places a markup on the page that you can use for its information. That's where it's slightly different. So I'll show you how this can be used. Essentially, we're going to use the compare tool, create our compared drawing, and then on the other side, edit the subject so that it actually automatically knows what that markup's referencing. And it'll produce a report off that, and a report that we can share with anyone. They don't need Bluebeam, it's just a PDF anyone can open. Back to Bluebeam. In this case, I'll use this drawing again, but I'll have to reload it. Goodbye to all of our precious work. So I've got 2 drawings here. One of them is the original, one of them is a revision. Like I said, for those that haven't seen it, by the way, just in case, we've got document at the top, overlay pages. Oh, stitching is there. Interesting. Overlay pages. And then add the original. We've already got that popped up. Add the second one, which is revision 1. So anything that's considered revision 1 is going to be green and brand new. You can sort of see that popping up on the bottom as differences here. You can auto align it if they're misaligned. And you can manual align it as well, which I'll do just incorrectly so you can see. But that will help you, and you can use that alignment tool to bring things back onto center if they're off. Or you just use auto, boom, sorts it for us. You click OK, and you have an overlay of all your differences. So great. Now I can see exactly what's different. I go to the layers panel, turn them one at a time off and on to see which one's which. But that is the best way. But the other thing, like we were saying, the overlay tool, the comparison tool is slightly different, and the use case is slightly different. So the purpose for that is to get that report at the end. So we go to document, lovely. There we go to document. We click on compare documents. Stitching, I haven't updated yet, so I don't know how it appeared on my computer. Curious. Compare documents. This is a different one, so it only allows you to do 2 at once. So with overlays, you can overlay 3 or 4 drawings, but or more. But with document here, you've got document A and B, so it's 1 or 2. It's automatically picked them up because we had them both open, but you add document A, which is your original, B, the revision. Um, Nothing else really needs to be fiddled with. You do have like advanced options for the type of markup it places on, the color of it, things like that, but I'm happy with it as is. Just gonna click OK. That's cool. Hopefully it is cool. Hopefully nothing breaks. All right, cool, it worked. But this way, instead of as we had the overlays, it's clouded those differences instead of just showing them in different colors. Of course, like you scroll down here, it will actually cloud things like this with like a hash or some of the text has changed. That might not be as important. By default, it also opens up the split view where it's got the original on the left, I believe, or the original, sorry, on the left. Mixing up. Look at the file name to know for sure, but this is revision 1. So this is the latest drawing, and the clouds are put on the latest one. And then you've got the old drawing on the right for reference, so you can compare. So you zoom in on one, and you can see, oh yeah, cool, I can see what it's clouding, I can see what the change is. If you want that to stop, you can turn synchronized views off at the bottom, and then just scroll around, and it won't sync them up. Turn it back on, and it will resume. You can just close this as well, or drag it back to the left so you still have it open if you want to look at one at a time, which is what we're going to do here. Automatically, your difference markups are locked, so I can't move or mess with it until I right-click, click lock again to unlock it, and now it's movable and manipulatable. So I'm going to delete that one because that's not really relevant, but it doesn't matter to me. Whereas these ones are actual changes that I want to report on, so I'm going to zoom in, and instead of doing them all, Control A, select all markups, right click and click lock, and it'll unlock them all. Now we can move them just and manipulate them. So you select the first one here, and this is where it comes in handy to have your other drawing, on a separate screen because we can compare. But that door wasn't there before. Go to your markups list, which if you're not seeing it, again, click on that symbol, it pops it up. You can drag it up to be a bit larger. Click on the markup, it highlights the one that you are viewing, and double click on the subject. And we can rename it. So this is new door added. Click on this one. Clicking on it in the markups list takes me to it in the drawing, so that's nice and easy. You can sort of see between there. It's hard to tell the difference, but if you look real close, it is a different size. They've like expanded that wall. So this is further out than it was. It's a bit subtle. But I'll just click on that and I'll say wall expanded. It would be nice to sort of know by how much. So if you want to include that context, you can just do a quick measurement, from here to here, then go from same on this drawing, here to here. So it's gone out by 700 mil-ish. But you can type that in if you like. And then the final one, again, click on the last difference here. You zoom in, another toilet stall is added. So you can say third toilet or water closet. We want to get technical added. Enter, and then you've added the context in. We can get rid of this other drawing now. We've got this, that the markup contains what's changed. You can do that for all your markups. You can also probably ask Claude to say, hey, identify the differences within these clouds. I haven't been able to test it, but hopefully that does work because it'll make this step easier because that was the manual part. But finally, regardless of how you get here, you can then do a PDF summary from your markups list export tool. And you can go to the side here, click on the drawing. You can add other PDFs. So if you've done the same thing to other pages, you can add multiple documents to create this report from. So the markups list information from 3 or 4 documents will get added. And then finally, you can just go down and fiddle with the settings. Append and hyperlink is really important to turn on. It's going to be exported as a PDF. In this case, all the markups are coming across, so we don't need to filter any out because everything in this PDF is going to be a difference. But if you've got other markups you want to exclude, you can go over here and only enable the ones you want. So the wall expansion won't be included, but in this example. That's just filtering the actual results. For columns, you want the things you need. So look, the comments don't actually matter because everything's in the subject for this one. The page it's on is probably nice to have. There's no layer or space, so we can turn that off. The color, I'm pretty confident what color that is without it telling me. Statuses I'm not using, but you could apply a status and sort of confirm changes or whatnot. Either way, I'm happy with that as is. So just these 4 columns. I'll click OK and produce that. But it makes a brand new PDF, and you can see it's just a report of each item. So it goes third water closet added, new door added, wall expanded. You can share this with anyone. It shows you the date that you identified that change, who's reported on it. And then within this PDF, you can of course sort of type in extra context. The third and final use for this, that's important in my opinion, and a unique way to use this that has another benefit, as RFIs. So within this drawing, so you can see at the moment, you've got the actual full-size drawing here, you've got the report. So to show you a third and final option, you can actually right-click, insert blank page. Bluebeam by default has a template option for an RFI that you can select, or you can have your own fancy one you can load in. But you choose that template, load that file in, today's date there, you just type in all your fields, 3/12/25, from me to you, RFI number 1. And in the description, you can go over here, and I've got an RFI about this wall expansion. Like, I don't know why it's happened. So I'm going to snapshot that, and I'm going to paste it into my RFI form as the context. And I'm going to say, why did this expand by 700 mil? So I've got the video, or I've got the image there as context, but if they're super clueless and we've got to help them out even more, you can go to Tools and Hyperlink, draw a box around that part of the drawing, and click Jump to or Snapshot View. So Snapshot View is going to let us get rectangle, click on the page you want to get from, and then circle that part of the drawing and click OK. And now it's hyperlinked. So if they're super clueless, like, oh, well, where did that happen? And I mean, this is more topical in a drawing with thousands of pages, not just this one. But you add your RFI form, you hyperlink it to the drawing where it occurs, and then they go, cool, where is this happening? Click on it. It can take them to anywhere in any size PDF, and they can see what you're requiring information on. So now the RFI is attached to your project PDF, so you've got full sort of you can track it that way. You can also just RFI based off of all these. So you can take that topic, because each of these are already linked. If I click on that, it goes to the sink. If I click on this one, it goes to that door. So the report's automatically done that for us. We can just reverse engineer in a way, take our RFI form and paste it on top of this after deleting the unnecessary parts. So edit PDF content, erase the text, and then move everything up here until it sort of fits. You can fiddle with it, but just a few ways to sort of show you. I won't overdo it, kind of over explaining it, but that's the end sort of result. Like we had, you can have the RFI form as we had built it before we deleted everything. Let's go back. There we go. So you can produce that. You can right click. Final step is you can right click on just the PDF, and you can email pages, and it'll send just this form in an email straight away for you. So it packages it up. It attaches just the one page that I selected, or you can attach everything. So you got the overlay drawing as the context. So this is just one new PDF, is one page with the drawing on it and the clouds on it. And then that will be, attached to your RFI. So you can hold Control and click both drawings, so they're both highlighted blue. Then you can email pages, and it'll send both of them. Package it up, straight to an email. But yeah, so those are your 3 or 4 various different options and ways you can use it. But basically, at its core, you can get those changes to come up, have it show everything it needs to show. You've got the report that automatically generates. You can attach that, you can email that, you can do anything with that. And then you've got your additional options of your RFIs, your templates, and other options. So that's all the various things that can come off the back of that. Excellent. So that is everything I had planned, and I'm 1 minute short of 11:45, so I'm pretty happy. Um, from here, I'm happy to stick around, but that's the content that we had to show you today. Thanks for attending and paying attention to me for that long. I appreciate it. If there's any questions or any comments or points, please put them in the question and answer chat. And I do have a slide for it. The recording, as mentioned, will be available at that web link there. So feel free to check back. It should only be a day or two before it's up. That's everything, but any questions, chuck them in. Otherwise, thanks for attending. I'll talk to you next time.